The BERNINA 880 has so many stitches in here that are technique oriented. So we were just finishing up the blind applique stitch. We're in our quilting menu, and that was stitch number 1331. But the stitch right above it, 1328, is actually a hand look quilt stitch. Now this is a manipulated stitch. So first off, you do need to use clear thread, which I've already put in my needle. And then you need some type of colorful thread in your bobbin. So if you want it to look like hand stitching, the thread that's in your bobbin is actually going to come up and make it look like you've stitched it by hand, but without all the work. But tension adjustment is going to be necessary. So you will find that automatically it will put you in a ballpark of a 7.0 tighter top tension. So that tighter tension is going to pull that bobbin thread to the top of your fabric. Now I will tell you, you need to try out different battings, which I usually am using when I do this type of technique. Try out different weights of thread in your bobbin, and definitely cotton thread I have found has been a successful choice, but not the only choice. So usually a little thicker one is good, and don't forget that if you're not seeing the results that you're looking for, you may need to tighten up the top tension from 7 to 8 or even up to 9. So don't be afraid to actually adjust this, because there are so many other variables than just this stitch. And again, it's a manipulated stitch. It's not supposed to work perfect every time, but with your right combination, you can get it to turn out. So what are we talking about here? So I'm going to take a few stitches, show you what's going to happen. It's going to be pull my bobbin thread up, and it's actually what I want. You can definitely put on your foot 1D, one with the dual feed feature. Pull the dual feed down behind the foot, because you are actually doing a quilting option. So you can see the stitch. I have chosen to use the open toe foot. So what's going to happen here is the first couple stitches are going to kind of start, it goes forward, back, and nothing really starts to happen until you get to the second or third stitch. So you see how the bobbin thread is getting dragged up to the top? That is the stitch that we're going to have that looks like hand. So again, it's a manipulated stitch. You do need to also judge correctly of when to pivot the corner, because there's a time to pivot and a time not to pivot. But I do have to say, no matter where I stitch this, I always have to kind of plan for these first two stitches to not always be working 100% of the time. It needs to take a couple stitches to get that thread to start to pull up. This is a manipulated stitch, so that's just something to either plan for, start off your fabric, maybe on batting a little bit, or just know that you're going to come back around and cover that up with maybe where you're going to end that stitch. But just know you can go ahead and have the look of hand stitching without the time that hand stitching takes.